Hari Om. Start with a prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Amadeva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Deva Deva. Hari Om. So in the Fundamentals of Advaita Vedanta, now we are examining Bhagavan Ramanuja's criticism of Advaita Vedanta, particularly the avidya aspect of it, which he exhaustively or elaborately criticizes in his Sri Bhashya of the Brahma Sutra. So there he has provided 7 untenables against the Advaita Vedanta's avidya. Avidya is a fundamental cause, even though other philosophers think it's a Mayavada. It's actually Brahmavada only, because the substantive is only Brahman, but Maya is brought in, and Maya is used by all other philosophers also. It's actually avidya is the fundamental basis for projection, and that's what being criticized rightly by Bhagavan Ramanuja. So we took some aspects of it. One is about the Swarupa aspect of the avidya, and the other aspect is Anirvachaniya aspect, which are really related to each other. And the other one is Pramana aspect of the avidya. And the fourth aspect of his criticism is the who has the avidya. You say Jiva has avidya or Brahman has avidya. This is a fundamental question that was raised by many other philosophers also, and Vedanta Desika in his Shatadushani goes exhaustively why this cannot be properly answered by the Advaita. So who has avidya? Is essentially the one who doesn't know I am Brahman is having avidya. That's a simple answer. But if question here is Jiva has avidya or Brahman has avidya? Jiva has avidya cannot be valid, because in one stroke Ramanuja dismisses that argument, even though according to the Bhamati school of Advaita Vedanta, it's the Jiva that has avidya, and it's the Jiva that has to realize, and that's what the avidya locus is. Whereas in one stroke Bhagavan Ramanuja says that cannot be, because Jiva himself is a product of avidya. That means avidya has to be there before Jiva came into the picture. Therefore Jiva cannot be having a locus of avidya. So only thing before anything came is only Brahman. So it cannot be Jiva, it has to be Brahman, because the Jiva is only product, and he cannot have that which because of which he is created. So he cannot be parent of his parent. So that's exactly what it means. Therefore Jiva cannot be locus of avidya. That is the argument. And second argument his presence is, but what other left? Is Brahman is avidya. Brahman is the locus of avidya. Brahman cannot be locus of avidya, because Brahman is the nature of pure knowledge itself. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam Brahma. That's the nature of pure knowledge, and pure knowledge cannot have ignorance there, because they are completely opposite, like light and the darkness. When there is completely light, there cannot be a darkness. So they are completely opposite each other. Therefore Brahman cannot have avidya. So therefore the whole foundation of the Advaita Vedanta is fault, because the avidya is a cause for the creation, but avidya itself is a problem. Where exactly is the locus of avidya? Before we answer this, Bhagavan Ramanuja also accept here that avidya is there in the Jiva, but his avidya is a little bit different from Advaita Vedanta. In his case, avidya is that they are Jivas in the total, and the Jivas avidya is they do not know they are dependent on the Lord. They think they are independent, and that becomes avidya for them. So they go life after life thinking that they are independent, and without realizing they are dependent on the Lord Narayana. That is the avidya. So for them also the moksha involves removal of the avidya, and that's what is extensively discussed. So the nature of avidya is different between the two, even though avidya is the cause. Now avidya is also beginningless in both. Anadi. Anadi means you cannot have start for the avidya, because if avidya starts, that means I am knowledgeable before. So avidya cannot be having any beginning, but it can end with the knowledge. So my chemistry avidya can end with the chemistry knowledge. So even though it has a beginningless avidya, that means I don't know when my ignorance of chemistry started. From the beginning I don't know, but I can end once I have. So it doesn't have the beginning. That means that which has no beginning normally should not end, but avidya is of different type where it has anadi, it is beginningless, yet still it can be ended by appropriate vidya. I said appropriate. For chemistry knowledge, you need a chemistry knowledge, chemistry ignorance. Chemistry knowledge is required. For physics ignorance, physics knowledge, physics is required. For self knowledge, self ignorance, self knowledge is required. So appropriate knowledge will eliminate that. So we'll go back into the later in terms of what is jnanam that is required. So in this case, according to Bhagavan Ramanuja, neither the jiva has avidya nor the Paramatma has avidya or the Brahman has avidya, and therefore the whole argument is wrong. So we address the question in a way that the locus cannot be other than Brahman. Locus, there is what do you call, anyonya ashrayam, interdependency between the jiva and avidya, which came first cannot be answered. The same cannot be answered for whether the seed came first or a tree came first. So the seeds are from the tree, but the tree itself came from the seed. So which one is the beginning? Which one is the first? He says anirvachaniyam. You cannot say what is the beginning for it. So in the beginningless cycle, the question itself is not valid. That's how one argument of the counter argument against what this says is avidya cannot be, jiva cannot be locus of avidya. When say both are anadi, jiva is also anadi and the avidya is also anadi. In that two anadi means both are beginningless. You cannot ask which is the beginning in the beginningless. So the statement itself is illogical. And how the Mandana Mishra answers in the Bhamati the same question, even before Ramanuja raised, the same question was raised as a Purvapaksha and addressed. He says in that, he says that you cannot apply logic to ignorance because ignorance is certainly beyond logic. If you can apply logic to ignorance, then there is no more ignorance. That's one explanation. But the other explanation is the interdependency is intrinsic to the problem itself, and that's what is anirvachaniyam. You cannot say which is the beginning for a tree and for a seed, which came first. The same way jiva came first or avidya came first, because both are beginningless. In the both are beginningless, the question itself cannot be asked even, and that's one explanation. The second explanation is when you say this defective, the one jiva with the defective of avidya, how can you equate to the Lord who is a perfect? So the answer is the way the Shankara addresses in the 13th chapter that we went through, Kshetrajnam Tapimam Viddhi Sarvakshetreshu Bharata. It's not the avidya is locus in the jiva, because we need to know what jiva is. Jiva is 5 components. One is the pure consciousness, reflected consciousness, and antaryami, the inner instruments, antahkaranam. That means the subtle body and the gross body. Now, where is the avidya? It's not in the original consciousness. It's in the reflected consciousness, that is the RC, along with the reflecting medium, and that's essentially the Sushma Sariram. So it is the Antakarna, it is the mind and intellect that has a notion of avidya. So therefore, it is the mind that has a notion that I am this, is also in that. But mind itself is inert, so how can it have a notion? So mind activated by the consciousness, by the Chidabhasa, therefore have. So anything that is changing total, that comes, which is the Jagat. So Jagat includes Chidabhasa and Sushma Sariram and Sthula Sariram, all the components involved, because it's continuously changing, just like the changing world. So therefore anything that is changing, that is the one that has avidya, because avidya also is changing to knowledge when I gain the knowledge. So avidya itself cannot belong to the Atma. So Bhagavan Rama, the Shankara gives the 4 fundamental reasons that we went through. Is one aspect of it is that if it belongs to it belongs to only Antahkarana, because when I have a, just like when I have a cataract, who has a cataract? I have cataract, but it's actually defects of my instruments there, not that I have cataract, because I can go to a doctor and change the instrument, then I will not have any problem of seeing. So therefore, the problem of eyesight is with the Antahkara, with the Karanam, that means instrument. There's a famous statement, Andho Anando Bhavati. When the blind man says, hey, I am born blind, I cannot see anything. How do you know that you are blind? How do you know you are blind? That I know. How? I can see. What? I can see, but I cannot see. That means I am able to see. I am not blind, but instruments are not functioning. Therefore, I can see the non-operational instruments. Therefore, I cannot see. Which means that it is the Karanam. The instruments are having a problem, not the one who owns the instruments. So therefore, if I am the pure consciousness that is enlivening the Jiva, pure consciousness part of it will not have avidya. Therefore, equation is valid, because we are equating that consciousness that I am, that is Kutassa Chaitanyam, with the Ishvara Chaitanyam, what is Maha Chaitanyam or Absolute Brahman. We are equating only Chaitanyam part, discarding this unrelatable, non-substantive differences at the Jiva level and the Ishvara level. Therefore, the validity, who has the avidya? The one with the instrument is having. So, but the question that we say is, which came first? And that question, Ramanuja also has the same problem, because there, in his philosophy or in the Visishta Advaita, they accept that the creation came from the karma only, because everybody has their Sanchita karma, and that Sanchita karma is the one that is causing the problem. Now the question asked there is, which came first? The karta came first or karma came first? So there also they have problem in terms of which is first and which is not first. And there it says, yes, this is also cannot be, because it is a cyclic process. So they do accept this Anyonya Ashrayam for the karma and the karta, because there has to be karta to do karma. But karma is required for a karta to be born. So which came first? Because also this is beginningless, for them also beginningless anadi avidya. Therefore, they have to accept this interdependency between the avidya, between the karta and karma. Well, they accepting that, at the same time they criticize that the jivatma and the avidya, their interdependency. So what is good for them is not good here. So essentially, the arguments are not really valid when it comes to the application of avidya. But what this is, we need to know what is vidya that eliminates this avidya. That should be fundamental. And therefore, this statement of locus of avidya itself is the questionable, because they have to accept a cyclic process, and the cyclic process you cannot have the beginning of it. And what exactly who has the locus? It is not the pure consciousness in the part of the jivatma, or the substantive doesn't have it, only superficial antakarana has the avidya. So when I realize it, I only realize not the other jivas. So even though everyone has the avidya, and the total avidya, sum total of avidya becomes a cause for the creation, so what exactly is the problem? Problem is, it is my avidya that is causing my world. It is your avidya, your ignorance. Your avidya causes your activities, and therefore your vasanas, and therefore your world. So every individual vasanas are involved in the particular totality. So when I eliminate my avidya, my ignorance by proper knowledge, then I realize, that means the inner instrument, the mind and intellect, realizes that what is that enlivening entity is Paramatma. Other things is only superficial. So mind, body, intellect, everything, Sukshma Sariram, Sola Sariram, all are only superficial entities on top of Adhishthanam, which is essentially the substantive. Substantive is nothing but Brahman, and the knowledge of Brahman will obviously, I re-identify myself with the original consciousness, and everything else, Chidabhasa, and the mind and the intellect, everything else is only considered as mithya. Therefore, the Advaita Vedanta says, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. This is the fundamental, the explanation of what Advaita says. Brahman alone is Satyam, because that is unchanging reality. And the world that is changing cannot be real, it's only apparently real, and therefore Jagan Mithya. And the third aspect is Jivo Brahmaiva Naparaha. The Jiva is nothing but Brahman, provided he discards the superficial attributive content of the mind in body and intellect. Mind, body, intellect are instruments, but instruments are not I. I am the subject who is conscious of the objects. I am conscious of the mind, I am conscious of the intellect, I am conscious of the body. Therefore, what I am conscious of, I cannot be. I am something beyond. I am the subject which cannot be objectified. Mind can be objectified, intellect can be objectified, body can be objectified, but I cannot be objectified. That is what I am. But these two are in the transaction level or together. I need a subtle intellect to discriminate what is real in this and what's not real in this. So Viveka is required, and to use the Viveka I need again the mind only. So I had to use the mind to recognize I am not the mind, and to say that I am not the mind, I need the mind again. Therefore, it's a very subtle, and that's why the emphasis on the Viveka, and the Viveka is Nitya, Anitya, Vastu Viveka. What is eternal and what is ephemeral, what is absolutely real and what is only changing reality. So these two things are occurring together all the time. So I had to use a subtle intellect to see what is that which is changeless in the changing things. And this is not a perceptual reality that I cannot see, because that which is real is imperceptible, and that which is changing and which is not real is a perceptible. So in every perception there is a perceptible and imperceptible entities are there. Then which is substantive, which I cannot see, that which is changing, which is only attributive content. So I have to use very subtle intellect to discriminate, and in that I had to say I am this. Parts are always there. The ego that involves I am this, and in the very analysis of ego I had to find out what is the real part and what is the superficial part. So I am part is real, that which doesn't change. Only superficial part, this, because I am this, and this is continuously changing, and in the changing things there has to be a substantive which is nothing but Brahman, that is a pure existence. The consciousness that I am, pure existence of the world, I had to combine to know that I am the totality. That is Tattvamasi statement. And so it's Aidadatmam Vidagum Sarvam, Idam Sarvam, this Sarvam. What is the essence of it? Essence is nothing but the substantive, that is what is the essential or substantive knowledge. That is the essential knowledge. And substantive nothing but Brahman only, because Brahman himself became many. Therefore, I need a proper knowledge to discriminate what is real and what is not real. Now, with this understanding and with the counter arguments against what Visishtadvaita proposed, now we go into the next argument, and next argument related to the Jnanam aspect. What kind of Jnanam it is required in order to eliminate avidya? If my avidya is eliminated, does the other avidya, other people avidya will remain or not? If avidya remains, if avidya is root cause of the creation, then my avidya also cannot be remained. It's because of the total avidya which is partless, and therefore I can never be able to realize. So these are the arguments of Bhagavan Ramanuja, and this is further expanded by Vedanta Deshika in Shatadushani using the Navya Nyaya. So we will try to analyze what exactly Jnanam means, what is that which is a Phala Jnanam, Vritti Jnanam versus the Phala without a Phala, or Phala Jnanam, and the one without Phala also. Phala means the fruits. So now we are looking at two types of knowledge that's available. I shouldn't say two types of knowledges, but knowledge may be a single, but two types of knowledge that are available. One is called the objective knowledge, in a simple way. Another is the subject knowledge of the subject, rather than not subjective knowledge of the subject. So objective knowledge is what all the sciences are. So chemistry, knowledge of biology, all are objective knowledge, but that's only partial knowledge, because in every objective knowledge, subject is involved, because there is a knower involved in all this known. So now how to analyze the subject? What is the knowledge of that? So this is a different knowledge, which is called essentially, I need a sukshma knowledge, a subtle knowledge is required to reveal that which cannot be revealed. So subject cannot become object. So I cannot say I am this. So I have to be very careful in looking at what exactly this. And that's exactly basis of criticism of Advaita by both the Ramanuja as well as the Vedanta Desika in his Svatadoshari. So we're looking at two levels of knowledge now. One is that which can be seen through object, another is which cannot be seen, but it is self-evident knowledge. So this jnanam has to be understood. So in this also we know that subject cannot be objectified, so therefore we said it is aprameyam. Aprameyam means it cannot be object by any. I am this, I cannot say. But at the same time, I should know who that I am is. So how is this known? How is it different from the objective knowledge? This we'll go into the details tomorrow when we talk about this, the nature of the jnanam, and how and where the criticism of Advaita by both Ramanuja as well as the Vedanta Desika come, and how they address and what is their analysis also. And also we look where exactly the difference between the two comes into picture, because in all these things, if you look at carefully, they are not much different, because they also accept in a different way, although they state it differently and deny this in one way. So with that, we'll go into the details tomorrow. Now we will stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.